Good morning, Kabroda crew. Welcome back. Thanks for joining the live stream. Hopefully y'all are doing well today. Baxter's excited for today's live stream, it looks like. Yeah, good morning though. Welcome in. Thanks for joining up and yeah, saying hi. Looks like we got a couple people here today already. So Terry's in here, we got Kathleen in here. So thanks y'all for joining up. Make sure y'all hit that like button if you like our stuff. Just helps us get out to more people, helps our channel to grow, helps other people to see us, and hopefully we can help them to grow. Yeah, not much happened yesterday after the live stream. Kind of had a lot of sideways momentum, a lot of yeah, just not a lot happening. Kind of had a little bit of a down run after well, during the live stream really, or I guess right before the live stream, and then started to run up, kind of broke through the top, and then just kind of sat sideways right there all day until around 10 or so. And last night we kind of started a little bit of a rally here, ran up, got through our 200, reset all the moving averages, stacked them nicely. And then this morning, we've actually kind of broken back through that, and we're starting to see some of the moving averages flip again back to the downside. So we'll see what happens here, as we kind of look into it. But, not a lot happened yesterday, so good call for the system, sideways-ish price action. I know we were talking about for the possibility of it maybe breaking down a little bit more than it going up. Obviously, kind of did whatever it wanted, kind of went up instead. Like we were saying, with the lines, that was definitely a possibility. But mostly we were in sideways, so wasn't anything super interesting. Nothing, you could have really traded with our system. I believe we did have some longer time frame trades here looking for the downside. Those since told you to kind of get out of the trade if you're in them. So yeah, not really a whole lot. No real trades on as of right now, I believe. So yeah, take it as you will, I guess. But yeah, not too interesting. Really price action yesterday, I guess all that to say. So looking forward to today, see what's going on, see what's happening. We'll get our lines updated. We'll get our new breakdown of VTC, kind of look through the different time frames, see if anything's changed since yesterday, and yeah, kind of see what's going on. Hopefully kind of help y'all frame it in your own for your own maybe trading style, or kind of help you see what we're thinking with our system and where our thoughts are kind of coming from. Yeah, I guess that's probably enough time for everybody to get in. So we'll go ahead and jump into setting everything up. We'll head on over to Kabroda.com and check it out. Baxter, stay down. And check everything out. Sorry about Baxter. He's just excited. Stay down. All right, let's head on over to Kabroda.com here. So we got our market radar here. This is our market radar screen. If you guys have been around for a while, this is basically where we'll have the daily kind of breakdown of the charts and stuff like that. Our site isn't actually open to the public as of right now. It's just really a tool that we use. So we'll show it off in the live stream and we'll talk about it. But I don't think we're ever actually going to bring it back out to the public. It used to be public, but now what we're going to do is we're going to actually have a newsletter of sorts. We haven't actually figured out on what we're going to call it yet, but it's going to be sort of like a newsletter that you can sign up for and get every day with all of this information in it, and then you'll have extra information, kind of like looking at maybe the longer term breakdown and then shorter term breakdown, what's happening on the 15-minute possibly today, all of that kind of in there. So You know, we'll kind of break it down on the live stream, talk about it, but that's what's possibly coming out in the future. So yeah, this is our market radar screen though. So today BTC was sitting around 64,337 at 8 a.m. Right now it's actually pretty close to that, 64,357. So, you know, $20 off. That's pretty crazy for Bitcoin. Pretty close. We are bearish. 4 out of 5 of our indicators are showing us that we're bearish. So that's what that 4 out of 5 means there. We're exhausted today. So, you know, the momentum of the momentum right now is kind of exhausted. So we're looking to kind of flip directions here on the shorter time frames, at least on the 15-minute. The jewel is lined up with the bearish sentiment that's there. So that's good for us. And then the multi-agent system is telling us to stand down today. So we actually don't really have a trade here set up today for our system, at least. Not to say that you couldn't have a trade, or, you know, maybe the information today will kind of help you see something on the market. But for our system, it's telling us, you know, it's time to stand down today. There's nothing really giving you the edge or the conviction that price is going to go a certain way. So we're going to stay out. We do have our breakout and breakdown lines right here. So breakout is 64,440 or 65, and the breakdown is 63,078. So if you want to pause the video, you can go ahead and copy these two, or just, you know, take a screenshot and grab them out of there. We are going to go and throw these on our chart though. Again, there's no trades for today, so no 4-hour, no 1 hour, no 15-minute. Yeah, I mean, that's there. So we'll go ahead and head back to our charts here. We'll throw our new lines on there and kind of see what's going on. These are yesterday's lines. So let's go into our indicator here and switch it up. Put on today's lines. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this trade here, so you don't see extra lines. Make the chart a little bit cleaner. All right, so today's lines, here we go. So we have our breakout line up here in green. You got your daily resistance and the dashed red line. This yellow zone here is your 30-minute range. Blue line is daily support, and the purple line here is your daily breakdown trigger. And then green is just other levels I have marked on the chart. The green dashed one down here, that is. So looking at the lines today, we look pretty nicely for the upside here on the 50-minute here today. It is a pretty wide gap between the lines, which is not the greatest. It's kind of too wide. So, you know, in terms of that, that's a bad signal. But you do have a lot of going for the upside. So you have your 30-minute range closer to this level here. You have a nice target here at the daily resistance there, as well as, you know, we kind of came up and hit it this morning. So there's a possibility to come up and retest that again here today. Looking pretty nice, yeah, for that little upside bump. Not anything crazy, you know, a little bit of a move. It is not the greatest, I guess, because it is under 0.5%. Typically when we're looking at the gap between the daily resistance and the breakout trigger, you can also look at it between the daily support and the breakdown trigger. But, you know, for the upside, you want to look at daily resistance and breakout trigger. And the gap is not over a 0.5, so that's not too great for the upside. Typically, you want to see something over a 0.5 to tell us that we are, in fact, going to go to the upside. So not looking too great there. Downside wise, it's looking pretty good for the downside. You got a 0.83% gap. And then, you know, as well as the daily support is within the range here of the breakdown and breakout triggers, which means that if you do break through the daily support and you break through the breakdown, you don't have anywhere major, you know, forms of resistance, at least on the daily kind of resistance. you know, stopping us from continuing down even farther. There is this line here, and you know, there's probably some other resistances, but essentially, with the way that our setup works with these lines, when you see lines like this, we used to call it the jailbreak, I think. I don't remember if that's still our name for it, but yeah, basically you break down below there and you kind of have free run to continue down because there's nothing really holding you back. If you have it like this, though, you'll typically target the resistance or support that's outside, so that would be kind of your target. Nothing too crazy. Stop below there. That's your target. So you make about a 1-to-1. Not the best, but not too bad, you know. 1-to-1 is still pretty decent trade. It's not like the best trade in the world, but it's a good trade. You know, you're making money, especially if you have some conviction. It starts looking good. You know, 1-to-1's not too bad. You know, put on 100, you're making 100, not too bad. That's a pretty nice trade, if you ask me. So yeah, in terms of line, not really a lot of conviction either way. Like I said, the upside is looking a little better just because this 30-minute range is closer to there. But that's not really saying a whole lot with the rest of the setup, kind of the way it is. There's just a lot of just you know, it's just up in the air. There's just not a lot of conviction to go up, not a lot of conviction to go down. So it's just kind of, you know, a little bit of here, a little bit going up, a little bit going down. You got some of the indicators kind of showing up, some of them showing down. So really, more than likely, we'll probably go sideways again today. Maybe we'll go, you know, up and sideways, kind of like we did here. Maybe we'll just break out to the upside and continue running. That's always a possibility. You know, you could break down too, as well. But overall, you know, based off of what we see here in our lines, I would say it's more than likely going to run sideways through the day. So we'll go ahead and jump into our breakdown here from the multi-agents and kind of see what they say is happening today, and kind of get the little breakdown of the longer term time frame, kind of see what's going on there, and then we'll kind of go from there. So looks like we're breaking out a little bit here to the upside. Maybe. We'll see. All right, let's head on back to Kabroda.com. This is that newsletter I was talking about. So this is kind of the idea of what we're thinking about bringing out. So if you guys have any opinions on it, just let me know. We'd like to hear, you know, if you guys think something needs to change, or maybe we should add something, add some pictures. I don't know, whatever you think might need to be in here. We'd love to hear it. That way we can kind of edit it and maybe make it look a little better. Maybe make it a little nicer for y'all. You know, whatever it is. Maybe, you know, like the font or something. I don't know. Just let me know. So today we got Bitcoin Bear Wave 4 bounce intact, structural incoherence, vetoes both sides. So Bitcoin is trading at 64,241 on July 29, 2026, sitting inside a narrow $1,387 session box with no directional mandate from the structural energy stack. Bear Wave 4 corrective rally towards 80,632 remains intact, technically intact, but the intraday movement framework is compromised on every driving time frame simultaneously, a condition that removes execution edge on both sides of the market. Price originated at the Bear Wave 3 low of 60,055, and Bear Wave 4 corrective structure targets 80,632 as its terminal ceiling. Current session at 64,241 represents approximately 22.5% completion of that structural journey. The confirmed weekly close below 60,055 terminates the bounce and activates Bear Wave 5, and the immediate structure question whether price compresses and resolves upwards toward 80,632 or retraces and retests the 60,055 origin remains open, and today's energy time frame refuses to answer it. So essentially, you know, we've been kind of talking about this for a while, but essentially we are in a pretty large range. You know, we're looking to either go up and break 80,632 or looking to go down and break 60,055. Until we really do one of those, we don't really have an answer on which way it's going to go. Obviously, we would lean probably more bearish just because, the market is in more of a bearish sentiment right now. Anyways, just looking at the longer time frames. So that's the way that, we would probably lean. But overall, you don't really have anything telling you that's actually what's going to happen, because what's happening right now is, like I said, we're in that range. So we're in a huge range between those two levels, and until we break one of them, we don't have a conviction either way. So we need to go up and we need to get a close above 80,632 on the weekly, or we need to go down and get a close below 60,055. Either way, that'll kind of tell us what's going to go on. If we go down, we get a close below there, 60,055. We'll probably go around 42 to 45,000. We've been calling around 50,000 level just to be more conservative, but that's kind of where we're thinking about going on the downside. If it does go up, we kind of have to reevaluate once we get to that point, because right now the way the structure works, 80,632 is kind of the level that if we break that and get a close above that right now, that breaks the structure. So it actually kind of ruins what we're looking at right now, which would mean, it's great. It's fine if that happens. We just means we would need to, go through and reevaluate, see what's going on, kind of get a different read on the market, and go from there. So we'll see what happens. That's just kind of the wider time frame look at it. That's the idea there. So if we're looking at the market and kind of saying, well, which direction is going to go here in the next couple of months, that's kind of the idea. Basically, though, the newsletter, I guess, here is telling us that today we just don't have an answer for it, and we'll continue through this to kind of see why. So the market sentiment for today: fear and greed index is registering at 29 out of 100, placing sentiment firmly in the fear territory and reflecting elevated broad market risk aversion. Fear at this step historically coincides with indecision and forced liquidation rather than constructive accumulation. A backdrop that is consistent with but does not resolve the directional ambiguity in the current structure. Sentiment and structural setup are in alignment only at one point. Neither is offering a clear directional commitment. So, we have been pretty close to that extreme fear here lately. We dropped down to, I believe it got under 10 actually. It's been a while. It's been a little while since then, but we did get in the extreme fear. And typically what you'll see is once we get into the extremes of either fear or greed, you're going to see a reversal of some sort on either side. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be immediate. It just means, we see that extreme fear, and then eventually we're going to get a reversal. It's not like, oh, well, like next year we'll probably get a reversal. It's like, it's pretty quickly, a couple months maybe, but it's not really guaranteed that, you're going to get a reversal right away. Maybe not even guaranteed you're going to get a reversal like even a couple months, I guess, but essentially, at some point we're probably going to reverse. And the more we get into extreme fear, the more it's saying, okay, well, now it's getting more and more likely that we're going to reverse here pretty soon. And we got in there, and then we came back out, and now we've been kind of sitting in this fear point, which is, it's kind of weird because, we don't really, the market is telling us so we don't really want to go up. So, and then the sentiment is kind of telling us we do want to go up because, we're getting into this fear and greed part. So they kind of conflict with each other, which makes it hard to kind of read that whole thing because, your indicator is just kind of inconsistent with the rest of the market. So that's where it's kind of been weird with the fear and greed lately, because typically, yeah, you'll see fear, you'll see extreme fear, and then you'll see a reversal, and we'll go back up, and we'll start getting into greed, extreme greed. You'll see a reversal, and then the cycle kind of just goes through like that. Sometimes you go up into extreme greed, come back down into greed, up into extreme, and then you reverse, whatever. But we've been in fear, in extreme fear, for quite a bit. I think it's been pretty much most of this year, if not the whole year. I think maybe beginning of this year we were actually out of it, but it's been a while. So something to watch, but it's just kind of weird that it's been like that. So today's energy, the 4-hour and hourly timeframes are both trending bearish, while their momentum readings are simultaneously positive. Conflict is not between time frames, but internal to each one, with trend direction and momentum pulling against each other within the same structure. ADX reads 24.61 on the 4-hour and is structurally weak 16.28 on the hourly, confirming neither time frame is in a trend state capable of carrying price to a measured target. 15-minute momentum signal is idle with directional velocity below the threshold required to initiate a sustaining a thrust, and 5 consecutive session transitions have carried persistent cross-time frame exhaustion signals, a condition accumulating since the New York Open on July 28th. It's not compression awaiting a catalyst, this is structure incoherence across the entire driving stack. So essentially, we just haven't had a lot of conviction here in the last couple days. We actually had a lot of exhaustion signals, so we're just kind of done going up, I believe is what it's talking about, which is it's kind of been like that. We start to go down, we start to get exhausted going down, we go up, we start to get exhausted going up. We just haven't had a lot of energy like coming into the market telling us which way we're gonna go. So today it's kind of looking like the up signal, but it's just no exhaust or no energy really. It's just exhausted. The charts are tired. They're ready to kind of get a little bit of a rest to kind of typically that means it's going to go the other way, but lately we've kind of been going either way, like I said, and then you get exhausted. So we kind of just need something to kind of get a little rest in for the charts and get that energy back. So system standing down today, and why is that? So 2 independent veto conditions filed simultaneously, neither of which is sufficient on its own. The first is the internal time frame incoherence. Both 4-hour and hourly are printing positive momentum, while their trend structures are bearish. When time frames on trend and momentum contradict each other, there's no coherent directional energy to price to a measured move or measured target. ADX at 24.61 and 16.28 respectively confirms that neither time frame is in a trending state. A measured move requires at least one primary driving time frame to produce aligned energy, and none qualify. So essentially, the 4-hour and the hourly both do not have any kind of energy within them. They're not showing any kind of trend direction. So essentially what that means for us is we don't have anything putting energy into the 15, so we can't really say that there's going to be a move today, because we just don't have anything behind us kind of pushing the chart in a certain direction. So that's the first point. The second veto is a momentum stack across every driving time frame. The 50-minute directional velocity sits at 0.22%, below the 0.30% threshold of an actual momentum. A 4-hour hidden bearish divergence is present. A weekly bullish divergence directly opposes the macro bearish bias, and the daily volatility compression at 1.6% signals the structural expansion is bending, but offers no directional resolution. Price has no field to traverse the runway between entry and targets, regardless of how structurally clean that airspace appears. So essentially the timeframes are not lining up again. A little bit different what it's talking about there, but essentially kind of the same point as the first reason that we're saying out of it today. The longer time frames are just not working together. They're not not kind of lining up. You know, the first point's more about that the 1 hour and 4 hour don't have energy. Second point's more about, you know, we have some stuff happening on the longer time frames, but they're not really going together. They're all kind of separate. So, you know, like the daily has the bullish divergence on it. Then you got the longer time frame is saying that we're in a bear state. The 4 hour it has hidden bearish divergence, so kind of telling us that we're going to go to the downside. So kind of all over. You know, it's not something that's like crazy, like out of it crazy. It just means that, you know, for today, for the 15-minute, if we're looking at trading as day traders, there's not a lot of reason to trade today. You're better off, you know, kind of looking for some trades maybe, you know, next week, tomorrow, I don't know. Just not today, really. So what would change? What would need to change for us to be able to take a trade? Short side setup reopens with ADX climbs above 25 on either the 4 hour or the hourly time frame, and momentum aligns with the bearish trend on that same time frame. Both the trend direction and its own momentum signal must agree before a trigger carries execution weight. The long side setup reopens when the 15-minute directional velocity rebuilds above the 0.3% ribbon spread threshold, and the daily volatility compression resolves with the directional break confirming the expansion. Both conditions must resolve together. Without one, the other does not meet the confluence thresholds for valid setup. So essentially, yeah, that's not really going to happen today is essentially what it's saying. So basically, you know, you don't really have anything going on today. You kind of have to wait to see what's going on tomorrow. See what's happening there, at least for the system that we trade now. You know, there could be a trade today if you're looking at it on your system. Maybe you're looking at the market a little bit different way. Maybe you're looking at different things. But for us, that's why we're staying out of the market today. Performance ledgers, just kind of, you know, looking at the last 7 days. What have we done on our system? Our system's actually up a little bit. Across the last 7 days, we've only took 2 trades. Baxter, down. Only took 2 trades, you know, in the last 7 days. But we are at a win. You know, we had 1 loss, 1 win. But overall, you know, we made a 2-to-1 on the win, and we only lost 1. So, you know. You basically put $100 on. You would have come out of the whole thing with $100 in profit. So not too bad. Risk advisory. Basically, you can break these down, but you know, obviously we're not trading today. So confirmed break below the 63,078, while the ADX remains below 25 on both driving timeframes constitutes false breakdown signal in the current regime. So essentially, you know, if we get that breakdown below our trigger, even though, you know, it was a breakdown, it's not confirmed. It's not showing us that we actually have a trade. So if we have a confirmed break above the same thing, but to the upside, so obviously if you don't have the trade, if you don't have stuff behind you, obviously the trade's not going to be good. Structural floor that terminates fairway 4 bounce entirely is confirmed with close below 60,055. Level represents a hard boundary, corrective rally, and fairway 5 continuation. Wow. Yeah, so obviously, you know, if we do start to break down and we're looking for a level to target, 60,055 is going to be a good level to be looking at because of that. Looking back at the charts, kind of before we get off. Before we head out, we have a little bit of a breakout happening here. So we got it's kind of breaking that top level right now. You know, we're breaking through the breakout level, kind of going up towards that daily resistance. You know, we were saying that's a pretty good target if we do break to the upside. So definitely one to watch for. But will it go much higher than that? I wouldn't think so. But you never know. We'll see what happens. Again, like I said, we could go either way. There's just not a lot of conviction either way, and that's why we're kind of staying out of it today. I mean, we talked about that, the whole breakdown, but I don't know. That's just kind of how the system played out today. It's kind of how it works. So we'll see what happens today. We'll see where we kind of end up at. But that could have been the top right there. That little wick. Again, who knows? Like I said, we can continue up. It doesn't really matter. The system is just saying there's no edge. There's no nice thing telling us what direction. So you're better off just kind of staying out of the trade for today, at least with our system. And again, we're not here for any kind of financial advice. We're just here to kind of help y'all, educate y'all on maybe trading, and maybe teach y'all something about it. Hopefully help y'all on your own journey to financial freedom. But other than that, we're just here, we're just kind of talking, on the live stream. So yeah, feel free to pop questions in the chat if you guys ever have questions. But that's kind of it for today. So yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out. Like I said, hit that like button. It really helps us out. Hit subscribe if you're not already. It just helps us, reach a bigger crowd, reach some more people, and helps you stay up to date with our stuff, especially if you're interested in it. Great thing to do. So well, hit the bell notification too. Just keeps you reminded on when our stuff's popping out. We will be live here again on tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. CST. So if you guys are interested in catching that, yeah, just go ahead, hit those buttons. You know what to do. Hopefully we'll see y'all back here tomorrow. But until then, happy trading, y'all. Thanks for joining.